Hello my friends and welcome, my name is Denys and this is the latest update from Ukraine. We have the confirmation from Lloyd Austin, the chief of Pentagon, that the United States of America will allocate $6 billion United States dollars extra for the military support of Ukraine. It is a completely separate program from the main military bill. Yesterday I told you that this military support will be taken. Luckily I was right. So what is included in this package? ATACMS missiles. Again they say HIMARS munition, but we all know what kind of the munition will be used. Well, standard HIMARS and also ATACMS. The munition for Patriot systems, also artillery shells, once again, drones, anti-drone warfare, air-to-air missiles, anti-artillery radars, and tactical vehicles. Great. This military package was announced on the Ramstein meeting today. Well, in fact, it will be bigger than $6 billion. Well, we have different figures in media sources, but it should be at least $12 billion in total. It is not the immediate support. No, it will be gradually delivered to Ukraine. But $6 billion military support will be allocated much faster. Hopefully, it will help Ukraine to change the situation on the front lines, because now Russia absolutely takes the initiative, advancing in many points of the front lines. Now let's review the Russian advancement for today. Let's go to Avdiivka region, to this major hotspot, and also over here. Well, we have some breaking news. Russia crossed this river to Semenivka. Unfortunately, they even occupied this village. It was yesterday, it is today. How could they do it? Well, actually, there are three of the attack vectors of the Russian army. One from this side, because the river is very narrow in this place. One from this side, across the dam, and one from the main road. Also, we see that Russia advances from the north, expanding the gray area, so Ukrainian army was forced to fight in two or even several of the directions. So finally, Ukrainian army stepped away from this village, and here we have a new flank, the big flank for the Russian army, which they might use for the further advancement to all of this vast area. Here you can see there are no any villages, just open fields, and for them it could be much easier to advance, because villages, towns, and other settlements are used for defense. Remember how Russia advanced from Avdiivka using those fields? It was really fast. The good thing that this advancement over here, the gray area, was clarified today, so Russia advanced, but not to the northwest part. But they occupied one more village, Solovyovo, on the south from Ocheretine. It means that this river is no longer the obstacle for the Russian army. They may advance straight away from this occupied village to this place or to this place. The Ukrainian defense is really cracking in some areas. Guys, I want you to understand it's not the Russian propaganda. I tell you the truth, so the real story of what is happening on the front lines. There is no mistake about the Russian advancement, and my duty is to tell the truth for you. So Russia also advanced near Keramik, so it was yesterday and it is today. And if we check for a couple of days, definitely they have one more advancement vector. So what actually happened in Avdiivka region? So Russia tried to expand their attack towards Yasnobrodivka to occupy all of this place, but they faced with tremendous resistance from Ukrainian side. A record number of the Russian vehicles were destroyed near Tanenki. There were 36 armored vehicles and tanks in a single Russian convoy, which was absolutely ambushed by the drones, anti-tank missiles, and artillery. So Russia decided to concentrate their efforts targeting the weak spots of the Ukrainian defense, advancing this way and also over here. In Tanenki direction, they stand still for a very long time. Right, according to the Micro 73, there was also the advancement of the Russian army near Tanenki, so this is Tanenki. Before, Russians lost many of the forces, as I told you, but now they have two of the attack vectors, so this one was successful for Russian army. They occupied more of the territory, but here they failed and their vehicles were ambushed. According to the Micro 73 source, Russians already occupied Ocheretine. Well, we don't have the confirmation from our warriors in the place today, but tomorrow I'll try to check that information, confirm it or dismiss it, and here Russia advanced towards Keramik also. the situation really doesn't look great for Ukrainian army. Also, what worries me is the situation in the Kharkiv Oblast. Today, Russia was successful advancing towards Kislivka village. Let's check out the timeline for the couple of days. So at first the gray area expanded and then Russia went for attack. They have a single attack vector across the railroad. The next village is Ketlerivka, and here is also the part of the village, so Ukraine still controls this area, but nevertheless Russia targets weak spots of Ukrainian defenders, because from what I know, the guys on the place didn't have enough heavy weaponry. Could it be the start of the large Russian attack which was advertised by the Russian side? Well, probably. The idea for Russia, from what we see, is to use as many forces as possible and to take as more ground as they can before Ukraine obtains Western weaponry, the weaponry from the United States mostly. That is why for 2 or even 3 months we'll see large Russian advancements, huge mid-waves with severe losses, but they have the order from their military command and they will do it. As Ukrainian and Western officials say, those could be bad news for Ukraine in the coming weeks. But after all, with more military packages, Ukraine will be able to cope with those attacks. However, I do not expect that Ukraine will go on its own counterattack at least this year or maybe even the next one. Simply not enough resources, even with new military support against the Russian army, for the huge advancement action. And with all of the Russian trenches and defense lines were built, the achievements like those were in Kharkiv Oblast or in Kherson Oblast in 2022 are under the big question. However, Ukraine might perform some of the sabotage missions and long-range attacks, for example, on the Russian military facilities in Crimea or in occupied territories, and little by little it might lower the weight of the Russian army in general. Well, honestly, it's hard to predict of what could be in 2025, but this year for sure Ukraine stays in defense. So guys, be prepared that we'll see not so good news about the front lines update for some period of time. My friends, by the way, if you want to support the job that I do daily on YouTube, you may join my Patreon team. You may find the link for it in the video description just below or scan the QR code available on the screen. Many thanks for your awesome support. The good news that Ukraine is building the defense lines on the south, but on this map we see that the defense is not that robust on the eastern side of Ukraine. So south and north are more or less secured, but here it's a big question of why Ukraine wasn't capable to build those in this place. One more aerial strike on Ukraine today, unfortunately. Russia starts to aim to the railroad stations, cutting logistics for Ukrainian army, because all of the weaponry is being transported through the railways. Zaporizhia and Dnipro was attacked today, as well as Kharkiv city this evening. Russia launched some of the ballistic missiles, hitting Ukrainian infrastructure, including civilian infrastructure. The agents of Ukrainian intelligence sabotaged one of the Russian helicopters in Moscow. This is the K-32, which is used as the transport helicopter and also search and rescue helicopter. This video was shared by Gur today, so there was the fire inside the cockpit, so the helicopter was destroyed by some of the people. Russia still can't find them. It's been a while since we saw the Abrams tanks in action. Ukraine lost at least 5 of those units fighting on the front lines, mostly near Avdiivka. Totally, as was said, 37 of the units were supplied to Ukraine. According to official information published by Ukrainian side today, Ukraine decided to remove those tanks from the first battle line. They say that Abrams tanks are vulnerable against the Russian drone attacks. Well, I think that every tank is vulnerable, but Abrams tank is also very expensive. So Ukraine might lose those very easily. I guess that the special anti-drone warfare should be installed on those tanks, as well as some of the drone protection like Russia puts on those tanks. I'm not saying about the Hunger tank which Russia started to use, no, but extra drone protection is absolutely needed in a modern day war. All of the tanks which were lost by Ukraine were like that with no any anti-drone systems. So Ukraine now thinks of how to use those tanks in the future battles. Iranian and Russian military met today in Moscow. They promised to intensify and deepen their military relations between two of the countries. Russia still wants to obtain ballistic missiles from Iran, and Iran already obtained first Sukhoi 35 Russian fighter jets. Those are very capable. At the same time, Blinken went to China and met with Xi Jinping. He asked China to influence Russia to cease this war in Ukraine, but China refused to follow this logic. That's why we have the statement from Blinken. Let's listen to it.
If China does not address this problem, we will.
So if China wouldn't address this problem, the United States of America might do something to lower the support of Russia by China. At the same time, the official representative of the Chinese Foreign Affairs, Wang Wenbin, accused NATO for the war in Ukraine. He means the military support of some of the NATO countries of Ukrainian army. China officially supports negotiations with Russia. It means trading Ukrainian territory. According to European officials, China is helping Russia to meet its war goals in Ukraine by selling more supplies as drones and other technology, plus the gunpowder. The United States ambassador in China also confirmed that they see more goods delivered to Russia from China. Most of the cargo has dual use, civilian and military, but obviously Russia uses it for military purposes. Probably you remember this Russian airplane that was shot down with the help of the Ukrainian S-200 air defense system. Well, today we have the confirmation that one of the pilots definitely went to hell. There were 4 of the crew members on board. At first, Russian media wrote about 3 of the casualties and 1 survivor, but later on they say that 3 pilots survived and 1 lost his life. Probably the second version was correct. Russians use everything for transportation near the front line, so for example, this Chinese cruiser bike, 250cc engine, absolutely no off-road capability, and it's very shiny, so Ukrainian drone operators might spot it from a very long distance. Probably the worst possible choice of motorcycle. And yes, sometimes Russia loses motorbikes. For example, this is the last image that was taken by Ukrainian drone. And now, my friends, please don't forget to press your huge like to this video. By doing so, you help me a lot. As always, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.